Recorded Books presents an unabridged recording of Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Last Straw, by Jeff Kinney, narrated by Ramon de Ocampo.
May. Monday. I figure the best way to get Dad to forget that father-son camping mess is to have a do-over. So tonight at dinner, I asked Dad if we wanted to go on a camping trip. Just me and him. I've been studying up on my Boy Scouts manual, and I'm pretty eager to show off what I've learned. Well, Dad didn't exactly jump at my offer, but Mom thought it was a great idea. She said we should go this weekend, and that Roderick could go too. She said it would be a great bonding experience for the three of us. I wasn't too enthusiastic about that idea, and neither was Roderick. In fact, one of the reasons I wanted to get out of the house this weekend is because me and Roderick are in a fight. Last night, Mom was giving Roderick a haircut in the kitchen. Usually when Mom gives us boys a haircut, she puts a towel around our necks, so the hair doesn't get all over our clothes. But yesterday, Mom used one of her old maternity dresses instead of a towel. So when I saw Roderick like that, I knew I had to take advantage of the situation. So I took his picture. I ran upstairs and locked myself in the bathroom before Roderick had a chance to catch me and take the camera. And I didn't come back out until I was sure he was gone. Roderick got me back anyway. Last night I had a nightmare that I was sleeping on a nest of red ants, and when I woke up, I was covered in Roderick's hair clippings. The way I see it, now we're even. But if there's one thing I've learned about Roderick, it's that he's not going to let it go. So that's why I'm not that eager to hold up in a tent with him for the weekend. May. Saturday. Today, me, Dad, and Roderick headed off on our camping trip. I picked a place that had a lot of manly activities that you could do. On the way to the campground, the sky got dark, and then it started to rain. I wasn't all that concerned because our tent is waterproof, and Mom packed ponchos for everybody. But by the time we got to our campsite, it was 6 inches underwater. We were pretty far from home, so Dad decided we should just find a place to stay for the night. I was really bummed because the whole point of the trip was for me to impress Dad with my camping skills, and now we were just going to stay in some stupid hotel room. Dad found a place and got a room with 2 beds and a pull-out couch. We watched TV for a while and then started getting ready for bed. First, Dad went downstairs to the front desk to complain that the heater was too loud, so I was alone in the room with Roderick. I went into the bathroom to brush my teeth, and when I came out, Roderick was looking out the peephole. Then he said something that made me freeze in my tracks. He said that Holly Hills and her family were out in the hallway, and they were staying in the room right across from us. I had to see this for myself, so I moved him out of the way and looked out the peephole. The hallway was completely empty, and before I realized it was a trick, Roderick gave me a big shove and I fell out the door. Then it got worse. Roderick locked the door behind me, and I was stuck in the hallway wearing nothing but my tighty whities. I pounded on the door, but Roderick wouldn't let me back in the room. I was making a big racket, and I realized people in the nearby rooms were going to start opening their doors to find out what was going on. So I ran around the corner to save myself the embarrassment of anyone seeing me. I spent about 15 minutes sneaking through the hallways, hiding every time I heard voices. I was going to go back to our room and beg Roderick to let me in, but then I realized I didn't even know our room number, and all the doors looked exactly the same to me. I couldn't exactly go down to the front desk either. The only option I really had was to try and find Dad. Then I remembered. Dad is a junk food addict. I knew he'd eventually turn up at the vending machines, so that's where I camped out. I wedged myself in between the soda machine and the candy machine and waited. I had to wait a really long time. But Dad finally did show up. I popped out and said, "Hi." You know what, though? After seeing the look on Dad's face, I kind of wish I'd just sucked it up and gone to the front desk instead. May. Sunday. Well, after our camping trip, I'm pretty sure there's no chance I can convince Dad to change his mind about Spag Union. So at this point, I'm not even going to bother trying. I realized there are only about 3 more weeks before I get shipped out, so I figure this is my last chance to make a play for Holly Hills. If I'm lucky, maybe I can take some good memories, like of us smooching, with me to military academy, and my summer won't be so bad. I've been working up the nerve to talk to Holly for a long time, and I decided it was now or never. When we went to church today, I tried to make sure we sat right near the Hills family, but we ended up 2 rows in front of them, which I guess was close enough. And during the part where everybody shakes hands with one another, I made my move. I reached over the pews and said, "Peace be with you, Holly Elizabeth Hills." The handshaking thing was actually just step 1 in a 2-part plan, and the second part would come tonight. My next step was to call Holly on the phone and use the handshaking thing to get the conversation started. I'd call her and say, "Hi, Holly, this is Greg Heffley. You might remember me from a very special Peace Be With You." At dinner tonight, I told everyone that I needed to make a very important call, so everyone should stay off the phone. But I guess Roderick must have figured out I was going to call a girl because he took all the handsets and hid them. That meant the only way to make a call was to use the speakerphone in the kitchen, but there was no chance of that happening. I told Mom that Roderick took all the phones, and she made him return them to where they belonged. Eventually, Roderick went down to the basement. Later on, I snuck into Mom and Dad's room to make my call. I turned off the lights so Roderick wouldn't know I was in there, and I hid under a blanket. Then I waited for about 20 minutes to make sure he hadn't followed me. Before I had a chance to dial Holly's number, someone walked in the room and turned on the light. I thought for sure it was Roderick. But it wasn't. It was Dad. I decided to stay perfectly still and let Dad get whatever he needed and leave. But Dad didn't leave. He got into bed and started reading a book. I should have just uncovered myself the second Dad walked in the room, because now I couldn't just get up and walk out or I'd give him a heart attack. So I decided to just sneak out of the room, real slow. I moved about an inch a second. I figured it would take me about a half hour to make it all the way out of the room, but there would still be enough time to call Holly after that. I was only about 5 feet from the bedroom door when the phone in my hand rang and scared the living daylights out of me. I screamed. Dad screamed. I think he really did almost have a heart attack, and once he recovered, he didn't look happy to see me. Dad made me get out of his room, and then he slammed the door. I'm sure this episode didn't help my standing with Dad, but I guess at this point it's probably too late anyway.